Commissioner Barboa's commitment to just and equitable policies and programs has continued across her lifetime. From starting a nationally recognized mentoring program for students of color, to passing legislation supporting pregnant and parenting young people, from leading campaigns for women and families to access the full spectrum of reproductive health care, to mobilizing community voices for quality, affordable health care for all. Commissioner Barboa is rooted and ready to serve District 3 and all Bernalillo County residents. So please welcome Commissioner Adriann Barboa.
Yay! Just I knew I could bring up some energy by clapping for myself. Thank you so much, Sandra, and what a compliment. On behalf of Bernalillo County, I welcome you to this virtual forum on sustainable economic development. I'm Adriann Barboa, and I'm honored to serve as Bernalillo County Commissioner for District 3. To me, sustainable in the context of economic development means an economy that values our environment and the workers who make our economy possible. Sustainable economic development supports the communities where we all live, work together, and how our businesses interact with our communities as part of our community. As the largest and most urban county in the state, Bernalillo County must help lead efforts to create a sustainable local and state economy. That's why we are supporting the efforts of Seed New Mexico. Congratulations on your first virtual and first meeting and gathering of the minds, and all the other organizations and businesses committed to supporting sustainable economic development in New Mexico. I am thankful for Bernalillo County's Economic Development Department's efforts to provide relief and support to local businesses as the impacts of COVID and the pandemic continue to be upon our economy. And I want to say thank you for this time and space together. Thank you to the businesses interested in being a part of something and building something together for our whole communities. And I look forward to working and hearing what your solutions are and working with you to take the steps to take them. Now it is my honor to introduce U.S. Representative Teresa Ledger Fernandez. Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez. Yes, yay, do the claps, come on, folks. Yes. Teresa Ledger Fernandez is a 17th generation Northern New Mexican. Before coming to Congress, Ledger Fernandez worked as an attorney and advocate and won on important legal battles to advance voting rights, promote tribal sovereignty, and protect our environment and acequia waters. She has helped secure nearly $1 billion for and then helped build schools, rural health clinics, broadband, businesses, affordable housing, and critical infrastructure for New Mexico. Congresswoman Ledger Fernandez was also a Clinton and Obama presidential appointee and worked as a White House fellow on housing issues and is vice chair of the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. Please put your hands together and welcome Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Barboa. Mucho gusto. Buenos días a todos. Thank you so much for having me here. I love the fact that I get to be here for the inaugural event of SEED. I mean, who cannot love each of those words? Sustainable, equitable, economic, because that's our future, and then democracy, which is what our country is founded on. And it is when we have true democracy that we are able to have that equity. And so that's what we're all working on. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Seed. So yes, I get to serve the beautiful and beautifully diverse 3rd Congressional District. And I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in Congress to help sort of meet those key objectives that you all have set forth. The climate crisis, we put that at top because we know that democracy is an existential fight we must have. but also our planet, the impacts that it has, the climate crisis on our earth, on our district. It's hard, right? It's hard to look out my window and see that there is not strong snowpack on our mountains. It's hard to go and walk. I spend a lot of time in those beautiful mountains communing with the trees, and it's hard to walk on them when, you go, my God, it shouldn't be like this. And then a week later, the place that you walked in, erupted in flames because it was too dry. And so, all of us who are here today experience the different aspects of the climate crisis and know that we must address it. And we're starting to, right? We have 2 bills down and a really big one that we need to get to. But the American Rescue Plan, we need to remember what that provided, that the first time in a long time that when we had a recession, when we had a crisis, instead of saying, let's put all our big money in big corporations and tax cuts, we didn't. We said, let's put our money in people. Let's make sure that we do those stimulus checks to people, that we help out the smaller business, that we help out the restaurants, because those are often local, right? That we do what we need with the child tax credit. So that's the difference. And in the infrastructure bill, there are things that are good for the climate. Not everything we want, but a lot of good things. In New Mexico, over 700 orphaned wells that are polluting our waters and airs. When you look at that map that shows where the methane clouds is, that ugly methane cloud, the size of Delaware sitting over the San Juan Basin. We have lots to do in terms of cutting methane emissions. We have work that's being done at UNM that will help target where those methane emissions are coming from. And I helped, together with Senator Lujan, bring $4.7 billion in the infrastructure law to plug orphaned wells, which will reduce methane pollution. Those wells were abandoned by corporations who knew that they were just letting us, the taxpayers, take the bill, but we have to, because we cannot risk having them poison our waters or sit right by. I took the Secretary of Labor, because it's a jobs bill. I took him to an abandoned well in Farmington, and you see the school right there, right? So our children are living with that pollution, which is why we need to deal with that. When we talk about equity, it must mean that we have equity to all that we need to survive and thrive. And we know that we don't have broadband, right? And we've heard over and over again, I'm going to be in another conversation in a bit about the $100 million for broadband. But the importance of that broadband investment is, it's not just, as Whip Clyburn said, it's not just to try to get broadband to the big house. It's to try to make sure that all the houses, big and small, have broadband, and it's targeted. So much in the infrastructure bill is targeted on disadvantaged and rural communities. Disadvantaged in rural communities, there's a 40% target on that. And that is, once again, something we haven't seen. So we're going to be able to provide subsidies for those who cannot afford broadband, right? And I think that that's a real key. So the other place where we are doing is, we need to have cleaner transportation system. New Mexico, I always talk about our Route 66 of renewable energy, because we have the sun, we have the wind, we have the means of actually sending that renewable energy both throughout New Mexico and over to other places that don't have what we have. But we need to be able to have the charging stations if we're going to try to transform our transportation. And the bill has significant funds in that. New Mexico will be able to go after those funds. And then the water infrastructure, right? Aguas Vida. We saw with the pandemic, everybody knows it because we all lived it. We are starting to put the money we need to get water to everybody in the system. We got significant funds for Eastern, everywhere I go, like if I'm in Gallup, it's like, we don't have enough water. We don't have water. We don't have a system. If I'm in Namber, we need the water system. If I'm in Clovis and Portales, we need the water system. And this money has significant funds for that water system. We need to have all those things working together. I also can tell you, I'm not giving up on Build Back Better, because we put even more investments in Build Back Better, because those are the investments in us. Those are the investments in la gente. where we're going to be promoting small business, where we're going to be increasing lending and investment capital, reducing healthcare cost, and making sure that the largest, wealthiest corporations pay their fair share and compete on a level playing field. The affordable childcare and universal pre-K programs in there, we're going to do that here in New Mexico, but we will be able to use the federal funds to supplement what we're going to do in New Mexico when I hope everybody gets out and votes for that constitutional amendment. And so those are some of the things that we're doing in Congress. I like the fact that many of you on this call, looking around and seeing who's on, you give us a hard time. You say, you hold us to the fire. Are you going to be doing this? Are you going to be doing this? And yes, because you also tell us and share with us your stories of what we need to get done, for our communities. So keep that feedback loop coming, because that is how, we pushed for these things. $1 billion in Title I funding. My very first meeting with the Democrats in education and labor, I said, what are we doing for our Title I schools? We all know our Title I schools are our poorest schools. And they said, Chair, Bobby Scott said, let's lead a bill on that. And sure enough, in the American Rescue Plan, New Mexico got $1 billion because there was a priority and extra funding for Title I schools. And that's because Yazzie V. Martinez, all of those things seep into us, and we go there to push for those issues. So I want to thank you for the work you're doing to put all of those beautiful issues together, because every fight is a good fight. We are always on that path of pushing that arc of history towards justice, but it takes a lot of work. And I know that the people on this call are doing that work. So thank you for the work you do and for the inspiration you bring to these issues.